Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County ADAMH, Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. Pleasure to have you with us. We are broadcasting and telecasting on, as we do today, on a little overcast but beautiful day so far in downtown Lancaster. We're here at Fairfield Federal. Appreciate them each and every week allowing us to take a little bit of space in the corner here and do our program, Fairfield Today, and they have for many, many years. Again, going back to Ron Keaton and Judy Root, it's been a while, so we're glad to be here again today. Coming up very shortly is kind of the unofficial kickoff to summer, and that's Memorial Day, and that means a lot of things to a lot of different people, but one of the things I think of when Memorial Day hits is the veterans and the Memorial Day parade that takes place here in Lancaster and kind of culminates out at Forest Rose Cemetery. The gentleman that heads that up is Doug Kemp. Doug is with us today. Doug, welcome.
Thank you.
Here we are again.
Yes.
It's that time. It seems like Doug's involved in a couple events that I'm fortunate to be involved with, not only the Memorial Day Parade, which we'll talk about today, but then in sort of mid-November, the Veterans Day Parade. Doug is involved in that too, but we kind of kick things off for the year in the two big parades, Memorial Day, and it's really a nice parade. It's not a parade where you're going to throw candy out. It's not a parade where you're going to get candy.
No.
But when you come down Columbus Street toward Forest Rose Cemetery, where the actual ceremony takes place, there's a nice crowd out there, and they know why they're there, to support
Correct.
the military.
Yes, and we missed Veterans Day Parade itself due to the weather, so the veterans are happy to be out there and do this.
I remember that the last Veterans Day, it was a little rainy that day.
Yes.
A little rainy. We all got, and I think we did it under the bandstand over here.
Correct.
I was thinking about that. Yeah, that's why we did it, because the weather was just not conducive. Well, this is the Veterans Day, or the Memorial Day Parade here, and it's always great fun. And where does the parade form? Is that down at Dr. Tenz's office?
Yeah, Mulberry and Columbus
Yes.
Street.
Yeah, in that parking lot there. And what time is that? Is that around 10:30?
Yes, that's when we step off, is 10:30.
And you step off at 10:30? Okay.
Yes.
And then you come down Columbus Street, and I always know there's always a lot of people out there with flags, and again, it's pretty cool because they're there to support all you guys that are in the parade and the meaning of Memorial Day.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good group, and I like the one here because we have all the service clubs. I think it's all of them, at least all the ones I'm aware of, Lancaster and surrounding ones, not only in Lancaster, Fairfield County, but they all come in and they talk a little bit about their club, and they read off the names of the ones, the veterans who have passed from their club each year, and that's pretty moving.
Yes, we read the roll call. Hopefully it's a short roll call, but unfortunately it's a lot of the veterans that were active years ago, we're losing them.
And sometimes you hear the name 3 and 4 times because
Yes.
some veterans are involved in several different organizations, and I know you do too. Don't you do the Marine Corps, and don't you do another one?
I'm with the VFW and the AMVETS and the Legion.
So
Yeah.
we'll have you on stage a lot this year, huh?
Well, I don't know who will be there for the Legion and AMVETS, but I do the burial detail
Yeah.
and Marine Corps League.
And that's a good point about the burial detail. What is it? You've been around with them for maybe 20 years? You've
Yes,
been doing
just
that?
about.
Well, I can remember in my previous life I was involved with them a lot, and sometimes, and again, I think of you as one of the younger people on the squad, because there was a time when there were a lot of WW2 and people like that involved, and sometimes they did 2, and I'm sure at times 3 funerals a day. And it's probably not getting any slower now.
No.
You probably do a couple a day at times.
There's been times, I think 3 is the most we've done in a day.
Yeah.
But last week I think they did 3.
And again, the numbers are staggering. The number of, especially now, World War II veterans, they're really kind of winding down.
Yeah, we don't do too many of those anymore.
Yeah, maybe
Korean
some Korea and
even a lot of Vietnam.
A lot of Vietnam ones, and even every now and then you'll have an Afghanistan or one of those really newer complications that we had there. But always like the job that our burial squad does. You and all the gentlemen there, and sometimes Mary Allison, so ladies and gentlemen there. It's a very solemn occasion, and I know the family members. You fold the flag and then you give it to a designated person there. That's always pretty neat.
Sometimes it's a little rough, but you got to do it. They deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely. They've earned that honor. And then we always have down at this parade. I say we. I have a small part in it. As I'm involved in it down there. And again, what's the date? May 29th.
Correct.
May 29th. It's a Monday, May 29th, and as Doug has said, it kicks off 10:30 down at Mulberry and Columbus Street, right there. Dr. Tenz's focal point office is right there, and they meet there. And Mary Austin, who usually handles this, she always says, we step off at 10:30. There's no dilly-dallying around. You're gonna be there, and you're gonna step off at 10:30. Then you come down to Forest Row Cemetery, where if you pull in the gate there, they have a cement pad that they built. The cemetery has, but they use it for this, and it's got a cover right there, but that's where it takes place. And then there's a seating across there in the grassy area where you can watch the ceremony right there, and it's about a half hour long. It's pretty neat. But then there's generally we get some dignitaries. I think Tim Schaefer lots of times shows up, and Mayor Scheffler has been there every time. Of course, Mayor Scheffler is an Army veteran, so he makes it a point to be there. So get those people in and get some nice recognition for the veterans. That's always nice.
Tim Schaefer does it mainly in honor of his father, who was a veteran.
Pastor Orrin Schaefer was his dad. I remember him. He was a good guy. And then always a big event, always a big really adds to the crowd there. The Lancaster High School Band of Gold. They going to be there this year?
Yes, they will be.
I think they're there generally, unless it's on a Sunday, and that's maybe a harder day to get them since there's no school in session. Yeah, it's always a good event right there. They do that, and let's see. Then you got the roll call, and then what happens across the street here? After this is over, around 11:30, 11:40, then everybody comes down here to Memorial Park?
Yep, and the burial detail will fire, and they'll lay a wreath on the corner there where the monument is.
Now, is there one veteran group that's kind of in charge of that, or it rotates around?
It rotates. This year it'll be the Olivedale group.
Olivedale veterans, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a good ceremony. Y'all ready to go on this?
Yes.
Don't want rain.
No. You spoke of the band, and it's nice that we have them because the kids are actually out of school, so this is extra for them after school's out.
Yeah.
So
first event of the summer, and they're kind of marching down. So we appreciate Ben Factor, who's the director of the band. He gets them out there, and they always do the national anthem and kind of get everybody revved up. But they have such a tremendous following. It's when the band gets there, the crowd about doubles with all the band people coming.
And they play taps for us.
Yeah, and the buglers do a taps. And again, they do a couple different buglers, so kind of an echo effect. They're in the cemetery,
right?
And then that's after you've heard all the names of the veterans who have passed in the past year, and then the veteran detail gives the salute, military gun salute, and then tap. So it's a kind of a good way to wrap it up.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else we need to get covered on this?
Well, the last couple of years, Mary has started kind of dedicating the memorial service to a veteran, and this year we wanted to recognize Dale Shepard. Okay. Most people just knew him as the chief. He just recently passed. He spent many years with the burial detail.
His name will be mentioned as somebody that special.
Yeah, we just had his funeral 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so pretty fresh here.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's a nice thing she started doing there. So it's Monday, May 29th, Memorial Day, actual Memorial Day. Parade kicks off down there at 10:30. The ceremony starts right at 11 o'clock, or as close there as we can get going. Then it takes about a half hour or so to do that. And then you come back down here, and the burial squad and Allendale veterans kind of dedicate a wreath.
Right.
That's how it happens over here. So
Yeah.
that's nice too. Well, good luck on this. You're in charge of the weather too. I know you're the head man,
Okay.
so you've got it all this year.
All right. We'll take care of it.
Doug Kemp, who is the head of the Memorial Day service this year, coming up very shortly, May 29th on Memorial Day. Doug, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Sure, we'll be back in just a moment.
You walked down the aisle and promised happily ever after. Sometimes happily ever after means ending a relationship. We know the conversations are not easy. Deciding what's best for you, your children, and your next steps takes work and communication. At Dagger Law, we know there are no monsters in a divorce, only people trying to find their way. Local, trusted, experienced. Dagger Law.
The staff that have been here know what it takes. They've been on the other side. They see what it takes to make someone comfortable, to make the family comfortable, and really what kind of support they need. And so I think that's what really makes Fairfield what it is.
You quit smoking and thought, that's that. But here's the thing about lung cancer. By the time you see the symptoms, it could be too late. But now, there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early, when it's more curable. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
My name is Allie. I just became 14 years sober at the end of last month. Through the support of my family and friends, I got the courage to ask for help. And through treatment services and the recovery community, I was able to start my recovery journey. Now I get to work as a peer supporter and an addiction treatment navigator, where I get to help the next sick and suffering. If you don't have family and friends that can support you right now, you can find those supports through treatment providers, the recovery community, and peer supporters like me. Every life matters, and your recovery is worth it.
This message is brought to you by the Fairfield County ADAMH Board.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Welcome back to Fairfield Today. I want to thank Mr. Kemp, Doug Kemp, for coming in, talking about the Memorial Day service. Always a good service. It's not lengthy, but it's very meaningful on Memorial Day. If you can make it down to Forest Road, that's always a good thing to do. We're in the month of May, of course, going through it rapidly as Memorial Day. Again, we're kind of, we'll be kicking off really the unofficial beginning of summer, but May is a big month for a lot of reasons. Every month has designations, and this one is Mental Health Month. What that means to us for today's show is ADAMH, who is charged with a lot of the mental health duties and training and recovery and things like that in Fairfield County. And somebody that can tell us a lot more about it than I can is Miranda Gray. She's program coordinator on the ADAMH board, which you didn't have any trouble getting here from your office, did you?
No, not at all.
They're just catty corner from us right here. We're on one corner, and they're just across the street there by the fountain. I guess everybody knows where you're located right
Yes,
there.
I hope so. right downtown.
Yeah, and so it's Mental Health Month. So what does that mean for you? And I didn't realize that you do have a theme for it. Look around, look within.
Yes, look around, look
What's
within.
that mean?
So really Mental Health Month is about awareness, you know, that mental health awareness. So look around, look within is really just a reminder to look around, look within. So check on your neighbors, check on your friends, and check on yourself. So, you know, ask how your friends are doing, ask how your family is doing. Kind of notice those things. If someone's having some mental health challenges, just check on them, and then check on yourself. You know, how am I doing? It's just a good reminder.
Probably a lot going on now in the last couple years with maybe all this COVID and now post-COVID. Maybe people not as in contact maybe with your neighbors, maybe
Right.
with people who you always did talk with, maybe not as much now. Maybe has that caused any change in that?
Yeah, you know, I think one of the things that we saw with the pandemic is that heightened awareness. I think we all got really familiar with that phrase, it's okay to not be okay. Maybe you've heard that before. I like to take that a step further and say it's okay to not be okay, but it's okay to talk about not being okay. Because when we deal with not talking about it, right? Sometimes we don't talk about how we're doing because of stigma.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're worried about what others will say or what others will think about us. So I like to say it's okay to talk about not being okay. And I think that's what Mental Health Month is about, too.
You know, I think of a lot of situations recently where, well, not recently, but over the years where you'll see some terrible event, you'll see it on TV, and so often they'll talk about a neighbor or somebody there, and they'll say, well, he just didn't seem to be that way, or I didn't talk to him much, or even sometimes they'll say, well, maybe it's just a young person, or they were quiet, they talked about things like this to each other, but nobody brings it to anybody's attention. I guess that's kind of what you're saying. You know, you hear something, say something.
Yeah, absolutely. Just check on people, right? Check on your neighbors. If you think that you're not themselves, or your friends or your family are not themselves, just ask them how they're doing. And, you know, I think it's also important to know that we should ask twice. Because if I asked you, how are you doing today? You would say, oh, I'm fine.
Well, that's the typical answer.
Right, that's the typical answer. But if I say, no, you know, how are you really doing
I've noticed
today?
something.
Yeah, I've noticed that you're not yourself. How are you really doing? And that's where we can really get that information.
You kind of got to peel away that onion a little bit and really get to maybe get them to talk a little bit about it. You know.
Absolutely.
Now again, the ADAMH board is right across the street, just catty-corner from us, on the corner right by the fountain, kind of behind the fountain there on Main Street. And is that where you do a lot of your services out of that office?
Yeah, so as staff at the ADAMH board, that's where we are located.
Okay.
But we actually don't provide any direct services to our community. So we have...
From that office?
From that office.
Okay.
So we have what we call our network of care agencies. And these are agencies that we essentially fund to provide those services to the community. So we provide funding to maybe more well-known organizations like Big Brothers Big Sisters, for example, 211. Those are social service organizations, but we also fund behavioral health organizations like Ohio Guidestone, New Horizons Mental Health Services, and those are the providers in our community who are doing those essential services to help the folks in our community.
So you do a lot of stuff behind the scenes to support the groups that actually do the one-on-one?
That's right. That is exactly how you can think of the ADAMH board. We are doing the work behind the scenes, and we are supporting those agencies and organizations who are more on the front lines doing the services in the community.
Now, I know there's an ADAMH board in Franklin County. Is there one in every county?
Yes, there is an ADAMH board in every county in Ohio. Every county, and some smaller counties have multi-county boards.
Sure.
So they're combined.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you're a smaller county, you might have 2 or 3 that are together, and then they handle the services for all those.
For all of those,
Okay.
right.
Now, ADAMH, again, a nonprofit, where's the funding come from this?
That's a really good question. So we are fortunate enough here in our community that we have a tax levy that supports a lot of the work that we are doing, and again, supporting those providers who are doing the work. So we have local dollars, we also have state grants that we receive, and those funds come from the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. So that's the
Out of
state.
Columbus.
Yep, out of Columbus. That's a state
Is
organization.
that funded by the legislature?
It is, yep. And so they get funding through various sources. Sometimes they get federal funds that pass through the state and then pass to local boards. But then we also have federal grants that we have received because we, write applications for those grants, and then we receive the funding, and then again, kind of pass that funding out to our service providers.
Okay. Now, your job is program coordinator. What does that mean in the big ADAMH picture?
So as the program coordinator, I do a lot of work around recovery supports. So recovery supports are things like, just what they are. So things that support recovery for individuals who have mental health challenges or substance use challenges. So it can be housing, it could be peer support, support groups. Those types of things are really kind of in my wheelhouse. But I do lots of other stuff too. I do a lot of public education, so I teach some classes to the public and do presentations. That's probably one of my most favorite things to do.
Sort of like this, when you come out and you're able to just give a little talk about what you do.
Yeah, I love engaging with our community. I feel like, there is that stigma again, right? Just it feels great to get out and talk about mental health and just create that awareness, because it's so important. Mental health is health, and we all need to really start thinking about it like that.
Talked a little bit about training. Now, do you or does your staff over there, do you actually do training, or do you kind of train people to train in the other services that you oversee?
So we do a little bit of both.
Okay.
Mostly we have 2 public education classes that we teach most often, and one of them is called Mental Health First Aid. So we have
First aid?
Yeah, Mental Health First Aid. So that is a class that actually teaches regular people like you and I how to help a person who might be experiencing a mental health challenge or even a substance use challenge. It's evidence-based, and it's a very long day. It's an 8-hour class, but
Anyone can attend this.
Anyone can attend it. And we actually have some on the calendar for next month, so it would be a great opportunity for anyone who wants to learn more about how to help a person.
Where do you hold those?
So those are generally right down in our office.
Okay.
Yep. We actually use the big meeting room over at 111 South Broad Street, so it's just behind our office. But anyone can sign up for it, and the registration is open right now, and it's on our website.
I know you, and I'd encourage people to look up the website. I think it's fairfieldadamh.org.
Yes.
It's a good
Yes.
website, got a lot of information on there, and tons of things like this, links where you can, things that you do, and the people that are involved, and just a lot of services there.
Yeah, lots of resources
Yeah.
on our website, absolutely.
Now, it's been, I don't know if it's been a year, we had your executive director on, Marcy Fields, and at that point, we talked about some new event that was, I think, just starting. I believe it was just starting to be built down on Locust Street, which is
Right.
down on the south end of town. It was called the Starlight Center, and Shane, we got a picture of that. If you want to throw that up there, we'll look at that. This is an earlier picture, kind of well into the construction, a lot of things to go. But here we are, late May, we're getting pretty close to that being a reality.
Yes, we are. So we expect to be able to open the Starlight Center by late summer.
Wow.
Yeah. We actually broke ground about a year ago
Yeah.
this time. So we had some construction setbacks, right? Just like with any project.
And I'm sure the
but-
construction has cost a lot more. I'm sure we've seen,
Yes.
if history tells us anything,
Yeah.
the last year.
Yes, definitely increased costs with with the construction, but the impact that this center will have on our community is just going to be so great. It's something that we've needed for a long time. And it's something that our community told us that we needed. So a few years ago, we did a community needs assessment, invited local stakeholders and local partners to tell us what are we missing here in Fairfield County and what do we need to be able to better serve those individuals experiencing mental health challenges.
Are you talking crazy here? You put out a survey. We told you what we wanted, and you acted on that?
We did.
What kind of agency do you run down there? I mean, you're doing what the people want.
Yes, and that is so important to us. And actually, you know, that's part of what we do every day is assessing our community and seeing, you know, what do we need? What are we missing? What gaps do we have in services? And we do give the community opportunities to tell us that. So yes, that's what the community told us, and here we are. We're getting ready to open.
So are you getting close to open that in just maybe 2-3 months away? We hope if everything goes well, keep our fingers crossed.
Yes.
So what will you be actually doing at that center?
Yeah, so we are going to have 24-hour access to the services there. We will have a mental health floor and a substance use floor. So essentially, it's for a short-term stay for a person who is experiencing a crisis. So for mental health, it will be a place where folks can come when they don't necessarily need the setting of a hospital to, you know, get well, but maybe need a little bit more than what outpatient services can provide. So we expect just a couple days stay for mental health. And then for the substance use floor, again, a person who's experiencing a crisis would like to work on their recovery. That facility will offer them up to 30 days stay to be able to, you know, get well and then re-enter into the community.
Now, will any of the agencies that you kind of oversee, will any of them have facilities down there too, or is it just you folks?
Yeah, so we'll have New Horizons Mental Health Services.
Yeah.
They will be doing the mental health portion, and Ohio Guidestone will be doing the substance use services.
Sounds like it's going to be a lot brought on board.
Yes.
When you're able to get that open.
Yes, it will be, but again, it's going to have great impact on the community. We're really excited for it.
Well, and again, about a year ago, we got to talk to Marcy Fields about that, and Miranda Gray with us today, program coordinator for ADAMH, kind of updating us on that. Pretty exciting time down there, so there'll probably be a big grand opening there. And
yes, we expect to have a grand opening. We're still working on getting that date set. It will depend on the construction.
Well, we'll see.
But we definitely want to, you know, invite the community to come down and see the great center that we have.
And it'll be worth touring it down there and seeing what's on. Maybe we can get you back when that's about to happen. We can talk about it.
Yeah, that would be great.
Talking about, in this case, the Starlight Center down on Locust Street. So going to be a fun time. Got a summer to go. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being with us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County ADAMH, Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.